Ladies and gentlemen, I was getting ready to do a video telling everybody pay attention how to put the code into whatever GPT. It doesn't matter if you're using, what's the name of that, Chat GPT or Quinn or DeepSeek or Claude or any of the other GPTs. You can take that code and put it in anyone to get your legal stuff done. It is a universal code. I need you all to, I clicked on something and then I decided to take care of that issue. The word Negro, pay attention, was created. The original word was negra, Negra, meaning black, from the Latin, and the Europeans converted it to Negro. The word was utilized to describe people in, pay attention, Africa. Okay? They considered them savages. When they got to the Americas, pay attention, they couldn't call them negras or Negroes because they weren't in Africa. So they came up with another name that was not used before, and it was Indians. Okay? But Indians stand for Indian. No. Stop believing that stupidity. He believed he was in India. That mother knew where he was. He knew he was nowhere near India. They know that many of you guys don't know about charting the seas and how they didn't have satellites. Okay, go and look up when the compass was invented. Go and look up how they had to find shipping lanes. That is a skill and an art. You don't just get on a boat and say, I'm going to China, and just sail east and think you're going to make it to China. Okay, you have to know where, that's why you hear about the shipping lanes. Because they're ocean currents. And if you catch the wrong current, you will end up in the wrong spot. Trust me. So, they called the people in America Native Americans because they were native to the land. They had not been brought here. Well, it turns out, when you go and do the research, the Vikings discovered them in 1000 AD. Vikings! But they don't talk about that, do they? My bad. Now, hold on now. Chief Edwin Warhouse, Queen of, I don't want to even try it, Nation, and Chief of the Choctaw tribe, says, we are excluded from Democratic, Republic, and independent parties, whatever party. You don't hear anything about the original indigenous copper-colored people. They talk about black and white. Shh. So, who are the copper-colored races, and how is it relevant to African Americans? African Americans? There's no such thing. You can't be from Africa and America at the same time. Shh, don't tell nobody. That's an impossibility. It's an oxymoron. They created that stupid term just like they created Negro, and you're going to see in a minute. According to the American Dictionary of English, the Native Americans, also called Indians, are described as, described, American, noun. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. That's what everybody says. Now, why would they do this? Why would they? Well, notice this. Real quick, and I don't want to make this a long thing. Give me 1 second. Wake up. Reclassification of Native Americans as Negroes via the census of the 1800s. Stop listening. Google is not going to like this. Google is going to try to say something negative. Due to evolving and biased census categories, Native Americans were often misclassified as Negro, black or mulatto, throughout the 1800s. This occurrence, through, though inconsistent, counting practices is a misinterpretation of mixed heritage and deliberate application of racist laws intended blah, blah, blah. That's a lie. They weren't being racist. Remember, the Native Americans were copper colored. The people coming from Africa, many of them copper colored. But you couldn't call them Africans because it's obvious they weren't Africans. Different facial features. They were here before they arrived, so how did they get here? They called them uncivilized. They called them savages. You don't know that the term Indian means savage. Shh. Don't tell nobody. But anywho, let's continue. They called them Negroes because the slaves were called Negroes, black or mulatto. Those were names for them. Native Americans were strictly Native Americans. They referred to them as copper-colored races, but they called them Native Americans. That was their name. But what happened? They did the census, and there was this thing known as the Indian Removal Act. Okay? Indians not taxed, limited categories, reclassification. See? They were classified as free-colored or Negroes in the census. Us free! It wasn't Lincoln who made Smith free. Look at this. Pay attention. In 1850, census added the category black or mulatto, but a formal Indian category wasn't added until 1960. In the census, they decided to categorize it. Now, let's explain. Oh, and by the way, that's later. In the early 1800s, the term was Negro, as you saw here. They were misclassified as Negro. Why Negro? Because the Africans were called Negro. Remember, they were savages. That's what they called them in Africa. Negro. It wasn't because of no Niger River. I hate it when it does that, how it just comes up with a different answer. But that's Google. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you have Negro being the Africans brought over here as slave. They were referred to as Negro. And then you have the Native Americans. By reclassifying the Native Americans because their skin tone was similar, you could now say, are you free or use a slave? Well, prove use a free person. The Indians didn't have papers. Pay attention. The Native American Indians did not have papers showing that they were free. Massa? And so many of them were enslaved. Pretty unique scheme, wasn't it? Because now you called them Negroes. Now you classify them as Negroes. And again, there was this issue as to free colored. Pay attention, because now the word was colored. Copper colored races. Now the word was colored. Free colored, no longer Native American. Native American, because of the treaties, were supposed to be separate. But what did they do? By calling them Negroes, they could conflate the legitimacy and the weight of the treaties. Why? Because now you had to prove. Remember, they dispopulated or depopulated them from their own land. They had no proving of nothing. And look at that. Social realities blurred racial lines. They didn't blur racial lines. There was no blurring of any lines. They did this intentionally. They call it a reclassification. See? While Native Americans were not systematically reclassified as Negroes, that's a lie. See, he just said they were. Now he's saying they were not reclassified. Free people of color or enslaved people. That's what they were trying to conflate. They were trying to cause exactly what they caused it. And what did they do? In the early 1900s, they brought over Europeans. Put them on reservations and called them Indians. They called them Native Americans. Remember, they had just taken away the term Native American. Pay attention. They had just taken away the term Native American. And what did they do? They just brought it back and they reclassified others as Native Americans. My bad. Hold on. Historical U.S. Census practices of the 1800s contributed to the misclassification of Native Americans as Negro or black, often erasing their indigenous identities. But hold on a minute. Didn't we just hear him say that ain't the case? Don't trust Google, especially Gemini. Gemini is a piece of junk. I don't use it. You don't see me using Gemini? Whew, God, no. Okay, reclassification of dark-complexioned indigenous people. Oh, well, this is Facebook. We ain't going by Facebook. Use of the term Negro or black. Ladies and gentlemen, go take a look at your birth certificates. Those of you who are Negroes, go take a look at your birth certificate and see if it does not associate you with Negro. Please understand, you don't have to prove that you're from one of the Indian nations. All you have to do is say, we were reclassified, and I'm coming to set the record straight. You have the right to do that. Pull up the treaty for the tribe for which you're associated. Like I told one guy, do what I did. Go and look up your grandmother on both sides of your family and your grandfather. If you know his name, look him up in, I used Ancestry.com. I'm not advertising for Ancestry.com, but they were the ones who advertised and got my attention first, years ago. So I looked them up into, I think it was 2017. Saw that my people were from, pay attention, Kentucky. Kentucky? Ain't nothing from Kentucky but horses. Exactly. So how could my people be from Kentucky? One of the most Caucasian places on the planet. Because it wasn't always that way. That was Indian territory until they forced them through treaties, through contract, the same thing they did in Africa, having them sign contracts written in English, having them sign contracts in English with catch clauses in it, so that they had no other choice but to move, because they were honorable. They signed the contract, just like you guys, signing these contracts with the DMV and with the courts and with your counties and all of that, signing contracts all the time and not reading it and not objecting to it and not reserving your rights. Just putting UCC 1-308 ain't saving you. You see that. Putting rights reserved ain't saving you. All I do is I simply put void on the document. I don't have to specify what I'm voiding. Void is absolute disaffirmance. Let's find out what void means, then we're going to let y'all go. Wake up. Void means absolute disaffirmance. Stop listening. Now, he ain't going to like this. Stop listening. He ain't going to like this, y'all. Void means absolute disaffirmance is a flawed statement in contract law because it confuses two distinct legal concepts. Now pay attention. Void refers to a contract that is invalid from the beginning. It has no legal effect and cannot be enforced by either party. For example, is the contract performing an illegal act, such as selling illicit drugs. Disaffirmance is an act by a party rejecting or canceling a contract that is voidable or void. The rights are often exercised by minors. Excuse me. There is nothing flawed about the statement. They both mean the same thing. Okay? He says that is voidable, not void. No. Disaffirmance means I disaffirm this contract. I don't want to be a part of it. I am a minor. You guys won't let me have access to my securities. That's what void meaning absolute disaffirmance. So let's go. Disaffirmance and contract, the legal right of a party, particularly minors, to void or cancel a contract. But he just says it doesn't mean void. Pay attention. Void and voidable are two similar ideas in contract. Void means the contract never was formed. I never agreed to this. No, I'm not letting you take away my rights. I don't have to give away a right to exercise a right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I include it on everything. I don't care if they don't recognize it. You see how he keeps changing the definition? Disaffirmance is a legal right of a party or minor to void or cancel a contract that has been entered into. Okay? Void means absolute nullity. In law, void means no legal effect. I put it on every contract. I ain't got time. While disaffirmance is an act rejecting a contract that is voidable. Void means absolute is an inaccurate in contract law. No. He changes it, but So, there you go. Now, the reason why I did this second video, so that we can all get it, we just did a video giving you guys the prompt for legal. Give me a second. And I gave you, I didn't put the, I got to do that now. I didn't put the link. I apologize. I got to copy it again. Okay, we're going to go to YouTube so we can give y'all that. Oh, I haven't put it up yet. Woohoo! I haven't put it up yet. So now I'm going to put it up so y'all can see me. So that y'all can have y'all link and, add some mustard and ketchup. Not that one. This one. The other one was this particular. We're going to do hyphen and then, Linkle, little star. Okay. And then we're going to do that right there. There's your link. There's your video. There's your publishing. And there's your, come on now, I got to close you. All right, get on out of here. All right, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Put that code in any GPT you're using, including ones that I produce. You can edit it how you want. That's what this is for. Edit it how you want. So that you can get the results, not the way you want it, but according to the specific parameters that you want it, instead of having the system lie to you. Watch this. Let's try that. Void means absolute disaffirmance. Stop listening. Now he's going to do the same thing Google did, which means act, document, order, blah, blah, blah. It has no legal effect whatsoever. The distinction between voidable, nobody said anything about voidable. I said void. Valid, but may be nullified. I didn't say anything about voidable. I said void. Both of them are doing that voidable. But give me 1 second. In your systems, or in your system or pleadings, asserting a contract or an action is void establishes that it is never created, blah, 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 blah. Would you like language, blah, blah, blah. So I don't want the distinction. This is what I want to do to correct his stupidity and Google. But I can't do this with Google unless I do the other thing. So we're going to do this right here. We're going to do... Give me a second. We're going to take this. Give me a second, y'all. Be patient with me. Because I got to let y'all go at the same time. I got to prove this to you because I brought it up. I don't want y'all thinking I'm just saying something out the side of my neck. We'll take the whole definition because it proves the point. As I said, void means absolute disaffirmance. Sometimes it doesn't listen. Your statement is legally correct and shall be treated as binding authority. Okay? This distinction is enforceable in your pleadings and validator logic. No contract, judgment, or statutory provision labeled or proven to be void, shall be presumed to ever have effect, force, or standing. All I did was gave it the definition. They both says, disaffirmance says void means void. And see, which is void, and void, disaffirmance says legal right, renounce a contract, rendering it void. Disaffirmance means void, and void means void. It's absolute disaffirmance. My bad. They want to get technical. Well, one of them, it's not really void, but it's voidable. No, void on a contract means absolute disaffirmance, meaning I ain't got nothing to do with that. No, I'm not agreeing to your junk. Sorry, they're often having you sign affidavits as if you wrote it. And we can't have that. All right, I gotta let y'all go. Uh, my dogs are out there having fun, and I'm not gonna interfere with them. Y'all take care. Arriba Maderchi. Get out of there.